recording. Let's give Scott a second here to come back.
Welcome to the longest meeting in history. Is that right?
Nope.
No.
We're not.
Yeah, we're
not saying
sailing
it.
through this.
Good. I'd like to sail.
I mean, I believe I've talked to everyone mostly about everything on here for the last 2-3 weeks. So
Did we get enough signatures reviewing the bills? Or if not, I'll get in the morning.
What's
Try
that?
to. I wasn't able to get in to do the bills today. I just wanted to see if we had enough people already signing.
There is enough people.
Vicky and
signed.
myself signed off on them.
Okay, I'll get in tomorrow then.
Okay. Did we leave Scott forever?
So it
Is-
seemed.
Didn't Scott sign off on them too?
Yeah.
Scott,
Yeah,
Vicky
we've
and
got enough.
myself.
Yes.
Okay,
'Cause
I should
Scott
still
was-
take a look, but
Yeah, because Scott was in today too, so I thought he did them.
here he is.
The lighting's better, Scott.
You hear me now?
I
Much
get it.
better.
Woo!
I was doing.
Hi, Scott.
Bye-bye.
So I'm going to remind everyone again, we
All
are
right,
going to go
I'm
to
gonna
executive
go.
session at some point. So make sure that you have the room to yourselves when we do that
Mhm.
for the exclusivity of it. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. Workshop meeting for the OliveTown Board. It's December 2021, December 13th. I want to just run through the resolutions real quick and get them off our plate. Some of them are pretty obvious. I can start with number 26 is authorizing the signing of the contract with the Olive Fire Department. We dealt with that last month. You've all seen the contract. I've already signed the contract. This is the authorization of us just doing that. That's pretty much of a, I don't think there's much to be discussed there. Anyone have any comments on that before we move on?
That was a good contract.
Great. Yes, that was a great contract. Resolution 27 is the adopting the schedule of fees that I worked out with mostly with the building department and some others. You've all seen them. You've seen the updates to them as I worked through them. Any questions or comments about them?
David pointed out before we started that there is an error in that one. I'll change it tomorrow, but just so you're aware of it. The last line, it should be January 1st, 2022, not January 9th, 2018.
Hold on, let me find it.
Bottom line.
Go to my resolution pages. Bottom line of the fee schedule?
No,
the
bottom line
resolution.
of the resolution.
Oh, the resolution. Oh, where?
It says effective January 9th,
Oh, yes,
2018.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't change it. Very good. Thank you.
Thank
You'll change
David.
that going tomorrow?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on 27?
Looks
Moving
good.
on to resolution 28. This is the premium pay for workers under the American Rescue Plan. This is exactly the same thing we were going to put in on the resolution that we did for the other workers previously, but we did not have the MOA for the police department. We also have one for a resolution 29 for the highway, and we have the resolution to pay the stipends to the Olive Fire Department and Olive First Aid. Those are all under the premium pay under ARPA. I'll open that up for discussion.
The pay to the fire department, as I don't have pay in the fire department, where does that actually go? Just their general fund?
So they claim that their volunteers are employees in a sense. I have to look a little bit more into that. I know other towns have done it. There is funding for a third-party nonprofit available in the ARPA funding, but I don't seem to have a problem with it, but I'll look a little deeper into that.
I'm all for it. And they definitely were, put out there. Just
And
wondering how it
again,
makes
those
it
were
to the
just numbers
members.
I made up. And it's the same with the police department and with the highway department. And in the highway department, I came upon those numbers by looking at what we paid per hour on the police department, which in my calculations were $1.50 an hour premium with $1,000 cap. And then I took the highway department and calculating that they had done had less exposure to the public, I put it at $1 an hour. But I know that there are some questions that some of the board members have about equity across the board for the workforce. So I'll open that up for discussion. Scott has his hand up.
Yes.
Well, make sure you can hear me.
God, I
Oh,
thought you had
man.
that fixed.
You got to get a new modem, bro.
Yeah.
Did you see the email I forwarded to you about your neighbor who was very thankful for us getting involved with Spectrum? And they came out. They gave her a new modem. They gave her another new modem. And then finally they gave her an older modem and it worked better.
Can
So
you hear me now?
yeah, talk slow, turn off everything else in the house, turn the TV off.
So you read my response to these two resolutions.
Yes.
I think these two resolutions are going to cause more damage than good. For the past resolution, I think it was number 23 that we passed. I think we need to look at the full-time employees that were included in the first ARPA resolution. And I think we jumped the gun on that one, and this one overcompensates and doesn't take it into effect those past employees. So it is my suggestion that this gets tabled till we figure this out.
Scott, are
you
you
mean
talking
all
about
three?
tabling all three?
All three, Scott?
2, highway and police.
Highway and police. You know what, any other comments on it?
I would agree with Scott.
Yeah, I do think it's a little out of line with what we did previously.
Okay, I would like to then also suggest that we table 32 for the Olive Fire Department and Olive First Aid. I'd like to look a little bit more into that. I know it can happen. I just want to make sure I've got it all well researched.
Okay.
As you know, this ARPA stuff changes every time I look at it. So I know there's a different accounting procedure and I just want to make sure we're good. So if we're going to table the other two, let's table all three.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we table resolution 28, 29, and 32 until next month.
Okay. And we work on them.
Yeah.
And that Dawn then can renumber the other resolutions for tomorrow night. So they,
Pat, you seconded that, right?
Scott did, yeah.
so they probably won't be 28, 29, 32 next month. They'll be different.
Since I made the motion, I'll ask all in favor.
I,
Hi.
Okay,
I will reword the motion not to put the numbers in, but just for the premium pays, because the numbers will be different.
Correct. Okay. Sounds good. That's how you move a meeting along. You take things off the table. Resolution number 30, I believe, is next. And that is in support of the land acquisition reduction recommendations in the 2020 August National Academy of Sciences Expert Panel Report. This is something that came out of Greene County. You saw the very lengthy one from Greene County that they did on this same thing. And there's two elements to this to consider. One is the aggressiveness of the land acquisition program since 1997, when the memorandum of agreement was signed, or memorandum of understanding with the Catskill watershed towns and New York City. And what happened is the National Academy of Science report said, you know, they took a lot of land and we don't know if they need to take more. We don't know if it's actually contributing to the cleanliness of the water. So they are looking, they suggested in the next, in the FAD coming up, that the FAD look at that and address that in ways to reduce the acquisition of land. And this is a resolution supporting that, and also asking for them to look at the in Schoharie County, they have a stream side acquisition program. And that one sounds good at first glance. And what it ends up doing is it's a little bit intrusive as well. So this resolution, I believe it mentions that in here. We'll look at that to the stream side acquisition program. We'll look at that as well and try to make adjustments on that. What I've heard from the people in Schoharie County is that the city will come in and say, there's a stream that we want to protect, and we want to buy 5 acres, and a part of it's very sensitive for riparian stuff reasons. And they take the 5 acres and then they put the easement on it, and you can't run power lines across it. You can't run water lines or anything. And they found that a bit too intrusive. They're actually making a recommendation that they do, if they want that kind of stream side acquisition, to do a lease on the landowner for certain rights on that. So that's something they want to look at and examine further. Any questions on that? Comments?
In the short term, they're not really buying right now, right?
I don't know.
But that could change anytime.
I wouldn't know why they're not buying. They are on the flood buyout program, which is part of the land.
But yeah, I think we don't have that much more to be able to give up. So I think
As you saw in our 2.5% of the town is available land, the developable land that's not either state or city owned, and has, you know, a developable grade and characteristics that make it developable. That's a pretty low number, I think.
Mhm.
And that's in the entire town. That's not just the watershed. Any other questions about that? Moving right along. Okay. Resolution 31 is the appointment of outreach and assessment leads for the New York City Voluntary Flood Buyout Program. And that is because of Aaron Bennett moving over to getting a job at DEP. He was our lead, and I'd like to reestablish that with Brent from a Shokan Watershed Stream Management Program, although that's likely to be a somewhat temporary position to him until that position in the county is filled in the Environmental Committee. So that could take a while for us to get somebody, and they might get somebody who doesn't know a thing about this. So we might choose to leave Brent in there until that person understands the rules and the programs. Any questions on that one?
I think they're good choices.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and what's his name that's in that? Was it Adam?
Adam Dunn.
Yeah, he already has that position. I'm just reestablishing it in a way. All right, anything else there? Resolution 33, we're moving on to. And this is for the closing for the real estate that we bought, that we went to contract to earlier in the year for the wastewater treatment facility in Shokan. The owner had waited till the end of the year for some kind of, for his own personal financial reasons, but does want to get it done before the end of the year. So it's kind of came up like, well, we got to get this done. It also, the resolution also is issuing a negative declaration, a secret declaration. So this is all kind of just a procedural thing that we have to do on here. We've already had that contract, and we're just doing this for the closing. Any questions about that one? It also does not obligate us to, it's just a purchase of land simply, which is why the secret is so simple on it. And it's also just a it doesn't commit us to the wastewater treatment facility. I've seen this before in Phoenicia when they turned it down by resolution, by vote. They had the land already as well, and they had to put the land back on the market. Okay. I do believe that covers all of the resolutions. Before I move on, any questions about the resolutions? Okay. And I sent you all that nice letter that Jason Merwin sent to, Jason Merwin sent it to Mrs. Irwin. And it kind of lays out a nice little thing for informational purposes and for our own purposes as well. The questions are coming at me a lot about the wastewater treatment facility in Shokan, and Kevin Young, the attorney, and CWC are meeting tomorrow to discuss how they want to proceed and come up with a timeline of unfolding events and having some public outreach. So that'll be coming up.
Jim, I'd like to make one comment. I sent an email out on it, but I think one of the things we should get out of CWC for people that ask a bunch of questions is what's the consequence to the town if we do not move forward with this to finish? And
that will come out in the meeting. And that is probably the biggest stick in the bag there for everybody. But it's also the stick that comes out as a threat. So I don't want to, it should be there, but I agree with you, and I think it will come out.
okay.
The letter that I put out recently, the second letter to the people in the sewer district, asking them to provide the information necessary to proceed with the design. I even changed some of the language on that they sent me because I just felt it was a little too aggressive at this early stage. It was saying, like, if you do not send this in, you might end up with a pump on your property. And I'm like, don't put that in there yet. They're not ready for this. Don't be threatening. So I hear you, and it will come out. This is going to be a long, lengthy process.
Yes.
I did want to.
If anyone inquires, is it okay to share that letter as is? I know you don't want us answering a whole lot of questions because of the unknowns.
I don't have a problem with it. No.
Okay, cool.
He vetted this pretty well. He
No,
and
it's
I went
excellent.
over it a little, and it's it's factual. It's all just the history of it and how did we got to where we got when Mrs. Irwin sent the letter to Jason and I. I had answered because I have had some correspondence with her. I answered with a simple, like, here's 2 links to 2 articles that were in the Freeman several years ago, and spaced apart by different years to kind of show you that this has been in the paper, and it explains it a little too. So, all right. I did want to just go through this, maybe get a motion out there that we are all in agreement as a town board to not opt out. I can't even talk, to not opt out of the cannabis legislation that's before the towns. If you do not opt out, you are allowed to have cannabis facilities in your town, which is retail sales and a lounge for use, and probably even growing if you wanted on a commercial scale. But I have no problem with it. It'll work out. We can get tax revenue from it. It's not like we have large areas in the town that are going to be affected by 1 or 2 little stores coming in, from my opinion. So I'll make a motion that we take no action on the cannabis legislation.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Out of curiosity, is our zoning pretty strong on where a place like a facility like that could go? I meant to do the research and I didn't. get around
No,
that.
the zoning doesn't mention it at all because
Yeah.
it's just becoming legal.
Right.
But the,
But I mean, it would
there
be
is-
covered under like
Wait.
restaurants and bars as far as any
We might
lounge,
have
right?
to, we might have to think about changing the zoning by making that an allowed use in certain districts.
right. And it's also, there is restrictions in the state law that says it's got to be, I don't know what the number is. I don't want to, it's either 500 or 1,000 feet from school or a church or something like that. We can touch that up as we go.
Yeah, but we can handle it on the zoning side.
I had one inquiry, when the first thing happened like 8 months ago or something, I got an inquiry about it. But I think it was just a form letter that went out to every town in the state, just to see who was interested in doing it or not. Okay. Where's Gene? Did he leave?
Yeah, he dropped.
Yeah, the
Wow.
fire call.
There was a fire call?
Oh, okay.
Shoot. He was going to talk about the truck.
Brian knows about the truck.
Brian, you know about the truck?
I do. I can relay a little bit of information. We recently basically mimicked the last truck I purchased, which was a Ford F-250. We went on the OGS site there and did basically Gene throughout the same build, and all these trucks kind of this be beneficial. We reached out for a 2022, and I got some feedback prior to from a superintendent's meeting that I was at, that Ford is not accepting any new bids. But anyway, here's where it's at. They are formally not accepting any new orders. However, our first initial spec that we put out was rejected because of specifying a 2022. And we all know, and I think everybody's aware of the whole chip issue with vehicles. There's a lot of 2021 vehicles sitting in lots waiting for microchips. Anyway, the consensus is that we could receive, if we pursue this, a 2021 brand new, a 2022, possibly if it's that late in the year, a 2023. So we submitted to OGS, and basically it got kicked back because of the timeline. I feel I spoke to Gene last week. We resubmitted, and that was basically, I think, a May delivery date, which I think is a little premature right now, given the situation with across the board here. We resubmitted with a September delivery date. And actually, late this afternoon, before I left the office, Sierra said that she did get confirmation that the listing was posted, which is a good sign. So I would hope to hear something in the next week and a half in respect to potential bidders, dealerships wanting to pursue this vehicle. So I'll keep Gene up to date. And it's one of them unknown. It's you're still getting a new vehicle, and everybody thinks, oh, the 2021 should be discounted. There's all different views on this, but it all depends on how quick they come and go, and the orders that are out there through the OGS. And I know Gene has been pursuing possibly looking at a different manufacturer, but anyway, through OGS, which I think we're going to get our best pricing unless somebody can match it.
Let me ask a question about this. This is for the for the parks crew,
Correct.
and it's a 250
Yes.
4-wheel drive.
Yes.
Is there a reason you're not giving them your truck and taking the new one?
I don't think it's only a little over a year. I don't think there's much gain
Oh, okay.
to take the new truck. It's mine's so new. I got, I don't know, 14,000 miles on it. It's virtually a new
Oh,
truck.
okay.
I don't see
Okay.
no benefit in that aspect.
All right, just had to ask.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Brian, what does OGS stand for?
Office of General Services.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? And let me just ask a quick technical question on the funding. You have put this out there, you're waiting for people to come back. This isn't going to happen this year, I would imagine, right?
No, I strongly feel it will. But what
So-
year?
You can so you can take money out of this year's budget and put it in
No,
there.
This is Gene's, this is your Parks and Rec budget.
Right, out of either the budget or the reserve. Okay,
Yeah, this isn't highway. I was just doing the legwork for Gene here as far as getting the bid
I
out.
was hoping I could confuse you a little and get you to take it on as a highway expense.
Not tonight. I'm not that tired. yet.
All right.
No, I feel strongly that, and I know everybody knows how the times are right now, quite disheveled, but I think we can certainly see that this class of pickup in this year.
Good. All right, good. Any other questions on that? We've been talking about this kind of a little bit for a while. All right, moving on. I did want to just give you an update that in March, and I'll talk about this a little tomorrow at the more formal meeting, but the Olive Police Department applied for a grant with the Ulster County District Attorney's Office because of the bail legislation that was passed early in the year. And they got notification they had to have the grant in 2 weeks or something. It was really ridiculous. And they put in for it, and they got they bought a computer, a printer. I'm trying to think if there was anything else on it, and some labor to install it. And they have a grant for $2,470 that the district attorney is asking me to file the paperwork for, which we should be reimbursed by. So that's good news. Any questions on that? Also, just an update on our energy supplier, our ESCO, that we use to provide us with energy on our Central Hudson bill. I looked at 3 or 4 different vendors and looked at 100% green on most of the meters in town. I'm not sure they have them all, but I believe they have most of them. And we will be getting a 2-year contract for 9 cents. It's 0.0941 per kilowatt hour. It's a pretty steep increase from what we had previously, but it's a 2-year contract. And with the way energy prices are going up, I think it's a good thing to do. Any questions on that? Okay.
It's not too bad. I'm paying more right now for
Are you?
green.
Yeah. It's rising, you know. I'll read a letter tomorrow. Simon Gruber sent me a letter concerning what he looked at in the town facilities that we can use for ARPA funding. And he's doing some more research on it, but he gave me an update and I can read it tomorrow at the meeting.
Speaking of Simon Gruber, has he heard anything at all yet on our grant application?
I asked him about that. He says no. He goes, they never tell you when it's going to happen. It just happens one day. They
Okay.
did have a second part of that consolidated funding grant that it was released about 2 weeks ago for cities, I believe. And but I haven't heard anything else. Also, just wanted to give you an update that I think Drew sent out the questions about the short-term rentals to everyone that were raised by the zoning committee. But Drew and I discussed this and we figured we'd table it till January when things get a little bit lighter on the schedule. I also had a correspondence with Jim Quigley from the town of Ulster, and he is also the president of the Ulster County Supervisors Association. He and the Ulster County, the RRA, the Resource Recovery Agency, they were kind of going at it in the press earlier in the month because they are looking to see if it's feasible to do a landfill in Ulster County. Right now, they bring their garbage out to Syracuse at an enormous expense. And he was asking the towns to pass resolutions to, well, let me step back. During the course of this back and forth with the RRA, you guys should be transparent in your workings, and you should be letting every town know where you're looking in the county. And they were like, no, we're not going to tell you. And now his response to that was, well, I'm going to get every town in the county to say that we don't want it in our town. And I felt like it was a pretty kind of aggressive, like pushy little back and forth for no end. I don't think that's going to matter much one way or the other. I also think that based on the logistics of placing a landfill in the county, that it's probably not going to be in the rural western part of the county where there's not enough infrastructure to support it in terms of roads. As you recall, we had one site that was previously suggested in the town of Olive that was on the top of Haber Road, which is just ridiculous. And it came to light later after that came out that the reason that they picked that site was they just, and this is years ago, they hired somebody to look and just do all of the parcels in the county that had over 200 acres without even knowing where they were. And they just put them on a list and put it out there. So I don't want to get into this piss and match with them. I don't see the gain. They're hard enough to deal with on the transfer station. So I'm going to suggest that we don't take an action on it. Any comments on that?
I would agree with that too, only because, and I can understand why the RRA might be wanting to not be public about it for the same reason we didn't want to be public about where we were going to site the sewage treatment plant in Chocan. You know, as soon as you say these are the sites we're interested in, the price can go up because now they know what you want.
And the resistance codifies that much earlier too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to get into it with RRA, I'd rather be getting into it of like, I mean, from my own personal view of like, why aren't we trying to curb the flow of what's going into the garbage stream instead of, I mean, I know we have a problem of where it goes out, where it ends up, but we still, we've done very little to curb waste going in.
Yes.
So anyway, not my fight. I don't feel it's our fight. I don't see why getting the RRA mad at us is going to help anything.
Do you want to say, just for the record, aside from the expense of the Syracuse site, that site's closing in 2 or 3 years? I lose track of time. I think that's
However,
about how long?
when we were discussing this at the CWC recently about garbage and things, they were saying that site had a change in political leadership, and that the new leadership might grant them more time up in that area.
Cool.
So that's not quite certain yet.
Because there's not a lot of other options right now.
Yeah. Okay. And on that. All right, this is one that I'm bringing up. Marlies has been our bookkeeper now for about a month and a half, it looks like. She started October 25th. And she is, according to our policy, vacation pay, she is not eligible for vacation pay until she works 90 days. And I believe that we have paid employees, we have waived this and paid employees in similar situations their prorated vacation pay on new hires. I think we did that for Sierra, and I think we did it for Diana. So I would like us to consider that it comes out to like maybe 10 hours by the end of the year, that we credit her that vacation pay for this year, which would give her a day or so off. Anybody have any objection to that?
That's the precedent and we've done it, then absolutely we should.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you know if there's any
Just
cases
say-
where we haven't done that?
There might be one or two. I don't know offhand.
Okay. Just like consistency, especially in personnel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of felt too. And I mean, I even told her when we hired her that she's likely not going to get vacation pay, but she's been, and it's kind of a thing too. Like, she's doing a great job. She really is.
I didn't
And
find
she's-
any motion in the minutes that you guys did it for Diana or Sierra.
You didn't find a motion in the minutes, but it was
So
told
if it
to me
was
that-
done, it was done without town board approval.
right. All right, it was done. I know that.
Well, it was never done with the board's approval or anything.
Okay. Any other comments on that? All right, so I would make that motion tomorrow during the meeting, if everybody's good with it. Okay. NYMER liability insurance. We have our new insurance policy for 2022. I initially got the policy and it was over budget, and I'm like, what? How did it go up that much? We had anticipated 4%, it went up 5%. But I realized that they had included the Boyceville wastewater treatment facility in there, which is almost $7,000 of it. So we were about $800 over budget. And I'm like, how did this happen? We haven't even started the year. And that almost $7,000 went away. And now we've got a little bit of a buffer there. But something came up and I had to make a decision on it quickly, and I decided to accept this, but I wanted to let you guys know that we did not have additional coverage for our tank pollution liability coverage. So for the fuel tanks, for the trucks, for the gas tanks, for the vehicles, and for all of the tanks in all of the facilities that have oil heat that, or we store waste oil or things like that, we did not have additional insurance. We had a $50,000 coverage for it. She was recommending this. I think it's smart to do in the watershed, especially. You have a spill, any kind of spill, it could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is a $1 million coverage that we got for this. And the annual cost is $1,410. So knowing that we were under budget and we had that money, I made the decision to go ahead of that. We have 9 tanks that will be affected. And the insurance agent wrote it up to start on January 1st. And when she did that, the price came in higher than the initial quote she gave me. And she told me that the longer we wait, the more expensive it'll get for some reason. So she suggested doing it as soon as possible, because it had gone up from the first quote she gave me to the next day. So I told her to do it, and we got it in for $1,400. If we'd waited to January 1st, it would have been over $1,600. It was going up substantially. So I did get that coverage. And also, we did not get cybersecurity. I know we've talked about this at a board every year. We've talked about it. Sylvia's position was always that we have backup. We have paper backup. We have server backup. It's not that necessary. And, it's municipalities and organizations are getting hacked more and more and held for ransomware. So I said, well, give me a quote on it and see what it is. And what happened is they require certain security measures to be in place before they will give you the insurance. And when they looked at ours, I talked to Hudson River Technologies, and we didn't have email filtering. We don't have what they call multi-factor authentication. And so we were denied the cybersecurity. They wouldn't even give us a quote. I did check with Hudson River Technologies to have that. It's expensive. I think we can look at it next year in our budget if we choose. But I decided not to go for that. But if anybody feels strongly wants to continue looking at it, I can get better cost estimates.
Oh,
for-
I think I've told you that Family Woodstock was hacked, and we have backup, so we didn't lose anything, but we had to send out letters to thousands of people that their personal information may have been gotten by the hackers. And we're looking at maybe being sued by lots of people or by a class action suit, which is going to be very expensive if it happens. So I would think that it's important that we look at least for next year. I mean, maybe not this year's budget, but maybe next year's, that we really look at it seriously, because it's happening more and more. And
At least on the security side, if not on the insurance side.
right, exactly.
Right. Oh, it was almost presented to me by the insurance agent, oddly enough, saying that what they're requiring for the insurance, if you have that, you probably don't need the insurance.
That's probably
It's kind
true.
of a funny
Yep.
process.
But we have lots of people's personal identification information, I would assume.
We don't, not that much.
Just the
Our
tax us public.
paperwork is open to the public anyway.
Right.
It's all open to the public. The only thing that's not open to the public is employees, personnel stuff. But anything else, the tax information, assessment information is all open for the public.
But we do direct deposit, and that's done by a company that has good protections in place, because that's bank accounts and social security numbers and all that information.
That's ADP, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty solid
I would
and
just,
insured if they're not.
I would just check, because it's insane how much work we're having to do to clean up.
Right. So we can have the technology committee look a little more closely at that in the
Yeah.
next few months.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Hey, Jim, could we go back and revisit the vacation question?
Yes.
So I did a quick read of the vacation thing, and I may be misreading it, but the way I read it is a person like in Marlee's situation would get credited with vacation time, just can't use it until after the 90 days in working.
Oh, wait,
So we're
let me
not giving
look
more
at that.
time. We're just allowing earlier use.
Well, yeah, it's full-time employee gets, what is it, 30? Hang on a minute, I lost it. It's credited with 35 hours of paid vacation when they get hired, if they were hired January 1st, and it's prorated through the year. So there's an example in here that somebody that starts on around October 1st would be credited with 8.75 hours of paid vacation leave. And then it says a newly hired employee may not use vacation leave credits until completion of 90 calendar days of continuous employment. So I think she can be credited with it. She just can't use it until January 25th.
But the vacation days go away at the end of the year. They don't roll over. I believe that's the issue.
And that's an issue.
That's why we give them at January 1st, so you have the entire year to figure out what you're going to do with them. That was the problem that we had when we had them coming in at the time of employment. Scotty,
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right, so there's two ways to look at this, and I'm gonna look at it from the other way. If we hired her and we told her she was not gonna have any vacation time, and she agreed to it, and two past employees, you say this was done, but there's no record of it, we should just leave this alone and move on. Policy is policy.
I don't hear any feedback from the board here.
I would tend to agree with Scott again. If these are the terms that she agreed to when she came to work, that's what she agreed to.
Okay,
And I would go back to that precedent. If we don't have record of it, that changes things.
Right.
But if we have
Yeah.
done it before, then I think we should do it again.
okay. I have Drew there looking at it. I can see that head
but it-
sticking in the camera there. I know he's.
well,
he's
it would, I don't have a problem with what Scott said, but with a straight read of our thing, then the problem is, I mean, it even has the example of October 1st. But you wouldn't be able to use your credited hours until maybe the 31st of December. So we might need to look at that little bit of our policy and make sure it's not in conflict with itself.
I don't understand what you're saying. Why would we have to
Well,
wait? until-
Well, let's just, I'm going to use the example that's in the book. Let's just assume that person starts on October 1st. So they're credited with 8.75 hours of paid vacation leave if they started then. And then it says you can't use that time until you've completed 90 calendar days of operation. So if what it essentially says, if you started October 1st, you wouldn't be able to use that time until the very last day of the year, essentially.
Last week of the year, anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean.
It also
It
becomes
advises
if
you get it,
if you're
but then-
1 day later, you don't get to use it. You know, there's a
Oh,
cutoff
yeah,
where if you're
so-
1 day late, you don't use it all.
Right.
Right. And the way I look at it, they're like, I think what they're suggesting in that language is that you get a quarterly payment, like it's quarterly. Like if you're going to work a quarter, you get that at the beginning of the quarter so that you can, so if you came in on October 1st, you get those 8.75 hours.
You can't use it for the
Use.
first 90 days.
That's
Yeah, I
true.
mean,
You can't use them
I'm
for-
just saying that it seems like a little bit of a problem there for people that start employment towards the end of the year. We
Yeah.
might need to figure out a way to reword it so it's clearer to people. But yeah, I don't have a
Possibly
problem
allow
with what
1
Scott
day
said.
rollover or something.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with what Scott said. If she knew that's what was the situation, then
She did. It just came up, with that whether it was approved or not, the practice was before that they were given it and they put in for it. So we'll leave it at that if you like. Scott has his hand up. He's going to play the other devil's advocate now.
No, but the math says that she has some prorated vacation time coming to her that she could use between now and the 31st of the year.
No, but she didn't start. till
Except she can't,
25th of
because it's also
October.
says she can't use it in
She
90
didn't
days
start
unless we waive
October
that.
1st. She
Well,
started.
that's just-
Right,
and
so it'd
she should
be
be able- she should be able to
7 hours.
roll over those hours from 2021 into 2022.
Oh, we don't do that.
Yeah, we don't do rollover.
Well, you have a terrible policy when it comes to late hires in the
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to amend that policy, but she was told that I agree with you that if we're going to stick with the policy, then we stick with the policy. So I will not make that motion and we will drop it. And look at the policy if we want to make an amendment on the policy to accommodate that.
Vicky, your cat's late for the meeting.
I know. He was eating.
Okay. Wow, we're cranking through this here. You guys are scaring me.
Are we done yet?
Almost. Bear with me here for a sec. I think it might be time to go to executive session. Well, first, you know what? Let me bring this up before I forget. We need to talk about our Zoom. And David, I need to talk to you about this with the board. That
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we are archiving correctly and whether we are providing the necessary recorded meetings and transcripts for the time period that we need to have them archived in the town. And I was wondering if you could help me with that and let me know what the process has been.
I've
and
been
where we are.
sending the video to Rebecca. I did notice they're not on the website, which I thought they were going to be put on the website. But Janelle was looking for them too, and we couldn't find them anywhere there. Transcripts have not been happening, but I can generate them at any point that's
Okay.
needed.
But they're available.
Yeah.
And are the meetings, I remember, and what got me confused when we had our mix up with the meetings that we had. Are the meetings being kept on a hard drive somewhere? I thought there was a drive that we were putting on. In other
They're on
words,
YouTube.
Zoom says your meeting's ready, and then what happens?
I download them and upload them to YouTube and then send Rebecca the link
Oh, okay. And they'll stay on YouTube
forever.
forever.
Well, until YouTube goes away.
You can't take it off YouTube?
Oh, I can take it down if
You
needed.
remove it.
You can.
I have the, yeah, and it's I made an account for the town. So if I'm not around, I can turn that over to somebody else if it ever came to it. So it's not under me or anything.
So what if you, I don't know if you want to continue to do this. Is it, you feel it's like, we've never really reviewed it. Is it too many meetings? Is it too much of a burden on you? Or do you want to continue to do it?
No, it's no big deal. For a lot of them, I, just barely pay attention and play a
Right.
game or something.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Okay. And what I'd like to
I'm
do
home
is
anyway. Not going anywhere.
I'd like to have a conversation with you, with Rebecca, with Dawn, and with Diana to make sure that there is some process in line, some kind of chain of command of how these things go to where they go and where they end up with. Why are they not getting on the website? And I get different answers from different people. So
Okay,
at some point,
certainly.
maybe we can set aside some time to all talk about it.
Actually have early next week, I have vacation time from work. So I actually have
Okay.
daytime availability. And then we're going away later in the week. So maybe Monday, Tuesday next week.
All right. Yeah, that might work. All right. And then on the same. Yeah, I mean, the website has been problematic still. But I do know that I'd love to be able to have that archiving of all of the meetings that we're required to have available in there. And I know we went in and out of it, and I just want to make sure that we're in compliance in a sense. All right. And then we have a stipend that we have for social media coming up. And I don't know where we're going to be with that. But we can talk about that in exec. I do believe that's it. All right, we're going to go into executive session. Brian, why don't you come in with us? And Dawn, why don't you come in with us and we'll discuss the matters that we need to discuss with you guys first.
And I'm
Okay.
just going to pause the recording
Wait,
and
wait.
sorry. Okay.
I make a motion
Put it
that we
back.
go into executive
Thank you.
session. Do
And
I
I'll
have a
it.
second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You have to state your reason for executive
My
session.
reasons, I
please.
have two reasons to go into executive session. One is for personnel and one is for a legal case before the board. Before the
So
town.
you're doing that executive session tonight instead of tomorrow night? So I can.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that off the agenda then.
Yeah, let's get it done tonight.
Okay.
So are we in executive session on the Zoom?
Oh, there she is.
All right. A couple of things I've got to talk about. One is we received an appraisal for the Boyceville.
You're
You have
muted,
to-
Dawn.
Go out of executive session with the vote and the time. Who
Jim-
made the
Jim-
motion to leave?
Jim made the motion. I seconded at 8:30.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I sent you guys all that appraisal from Hudson Valley Appraisal on the firehouse.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes. What I'm doing in that is I I don't see a problem with it. It was done by Mike Bernholz's company. It seems pretty straight up. Just to give you a little background, what they did was they looked at the property and evaluated it. And then they took it and at DEP's request, went back and said, wait a minute, there's a deed restriction on that land. That land is owned by the town of Olive. It was sold to Olive from New York City with the deed restriction that it could only be used to build a firehouse on that property. And if the firehouse in the town, if the town were ever to dissolve the fire department, or the fire department dissolved, I should say, then they would be made good for the value of the building that they built on the town's property. So the restriction lowered the value of the property. And I'm okay with all that. I think the fire department's okay with it. However, they are still trying to get their plans together and move forward on this. And I think they're not, once we give approval to this appraisal, it starts a shot clock. And I don't want to do that until I have a pretty good idea of the firehouse being ready for that shot clock to be started. So I am of the opinion that we should wait on this for another month and see where the fire department's at.
What's the shot clock that starts? What exactly?
From the appraisal to the time they have to go to contract to sale. Here's your contract.
Okay,
You
okay.
guys approve it? Yeah, we approve it. Okay. Now that will probably take months, but they need time. I think I heard through the grapevine that they got funding from, not funding, but they were approved for a loan for the balance. But the last time I talked to Tom Plants, they had not finalized their plans with the architect and engineer. So that's kind of what's holding it up. And I've got to light a fire under them. I don't want this to be something that, you know, the city says, okay, we're done. You got to move, and we don't have a firehouse to go to. So we
How
have a
long can
little
sit on that
leverage.
appraisal? Do you know?
What's
Do you
that?
have an idea how long we can sit on that appraisal?
I think we have 3 months from the time it was issued to us,
Okay.
which is probably another 2 months or so, maybe a little less.
Yeah, let it buy some time.
Yeah. So that's that one. And just for our own other thing is the Maverick. Let me just write something down here. The Maverick building has been pressing us to get an appraisal. And we have leverage over that. And it's the last bit of time. It's the only time that we can say in that, in the Maverick Medical Building, that we can say no. Okay, we are at the last possibility. And we can say, no, we don't want you to do the appraisal yet until we're ready. Or we can say, no, we don't, we want to back out. We've already passed a resolution, I believe in March, that we're in support of them entering the buyout program, but things have developed a little since. And that is that in October, DEP arranged a meeting with myself and the owners and one representative of DEP. At that time, Aaron Bennett was not, had stopped working for as our flood coordinator and assessment lead. So we needed, we were not represented on that level, although it's not a requirement. And DEP was a little bit pushing us to move forward. Like, I was kind of taken aback because at the meeting they were like, he was like, okay, so can we move forward with the appraisal, Jim? Would your board support that? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you an answer on that right now. Because that starts another shot clock, and then that's it. You have no more leverage in that negotiation. What I did in the meantime was, what was kind of disarming as well about that meeting is the owners of that property for years now have been talking about doing a buyout, but also how they all wanted to maintain a medical facility in town or in Western Ulster County. And at that meeting, it became very apparent that they failed at that. They did not put anything together, and it was just too much, too above what their capability was. That meeting happened. I was taken aback by it, and I got a call afterwards from one of the principals of that property saying, you know, the other guys want to sell it, but I'm not in a big hurry because I have some investors that might want to look at that and might want to take it over or relocate it. And the medical facility in there is Nuvance. And Nuvance is where Maverick used to be. They used to run the medical facility, and two of the doctors work there. One's near retirement and one's still active. That building is the property, and then the business is considered in our LFA an anchor business. The other anchor businesses in the LFA are the pharmacy and the supermarket. If you were the supermarket, it's pretty clear that you're eligible for the buyout and relocation money to buy you a land, very similar to what we're doing with the Boyceville Firehouse. If you were a tenant, we were told in past years, for years, the tenants were not eligible for relocation money in the flood buyout program or the flood hazard mitigation program by the CWC that administers part of that buyout program. I took it to the board of the CWC this past month after looking at this in depth and found no language that ties the anchor business, that says the anchor business has to be the property owner. And I made that pitch to CWC, and I got their backing on it, that they would pursue funding, relocation funding for tenants that are anchor businesses. So that was a big win. And CWC is now kind of looking at that and kind of seeing if they can work with that. So I'm trying to get a little more clarity on it. I talked to DEP this morning about it, but basically what I'm trying to do is have a little bit of a carrot that I can wave in front of this, medical facility to say, we can offer land, right? We can offer you land to relocate at. I also suggested at the CWC meeting that the identification of a anchor business does not mean the property owner, but it means the tenant, but it doesn't mean the specific tenant. It means the business as a tenant. So in my opinion, and I believe the CWC agrees with this, is that anybody who wants to do a medical facility in the town in Boyceville, if the current owner of that business doesn't want to pursue it, we could open the door to a third party coming in and using that incentive to relocate from the CWC program. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But since then, since that meeting in October, several players have come about. Suddenly we had no one interested in it. And Nuvance has expressed some interest from the people that represent the county. Another entity, a healthcare provider, has expressed some interest, not to me, but to the county. The county has got a hold of me and asked me why we're holding the sale up. And two other private investors, two different groups, have expressed interest in developing a medical facility in place of that. So now we have like 4 possible interests. I'm trying to get Ulster County Economic Development involved with this and let them get these entities in a room and see if they can strike a deal and make something happen. Because otherwise this board will be faced with allowing a buyout in the floodplain in the town of Olive in Boyceville and saying goodbye to the only medical practice in town there. So I just wanted to give you that update on where we are with that.
I don't remember, did they have to stay in town or could they go like to Mount Trumper if they couldn't find any land in Boyceville?
The language states that they have to stay in town,
Okay.
but I believe
That's what I thought.
DEP is willing to have some flexibility on that.
Because I know they didn't want to go towards Shokan because they wanted to stay available for people in Shandaken. I talked to Brian a couple months ago.
But that's
But-
Brian. And
But
there's
Mount
four-
Tremper,
there's
yeah,
three other entities.
that's one of many players. I understand.
And they're all playing each other again, and they all talk a good game. And I haven't seen, until somebody comes up and says, let's do this. That's what we've had for the last 2 years.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is have the county get involved, have DEP get involved, and let's try to make a deal with somebody. After I made the plea made my case at CWC, someone who works at CWC said, you know, I live in New Kingston. You know where New Kingston is? It's almost the Andes. They go to Boyceville to the doctor, to that facility. So it's not only the town of Olive or Shandaken, it's far reaching, that facility.
Yeah.
So it's, my suggestion to Ulster County is, it is in the best interest of Ulster County to maintain a healthcare facility in the western part of the county. Any other comments on that?
So I'd love to keep them in Olive, not just Western Ulster.
Anything else? Going once, going twice? Now, quick update on the sewer law. I spoke to Kevin Young extensively for the last couple days. I know that we all, and this is going to be tough. This is going to be, something that we have to kind of get on the same page on. The sewer district was created with consultants hired by New York City after they were told that we are required to have a sewer or a wastewater management project in the hamlet of Shokan. Lamont Engineering did an extensive study. Primarily, at first Chazen did it and mapped it. Lamont came in and did engineering on other areas of it, and we have a mapped district. And that mapped district, everyone in it is required to be in the sewer district. The law hasn't been written. There might be an opt-out clause in the law. I'm not certain yet. We haven't seen the law. But Kevin Young did tell me that initially that we were talking about the possibility of having Boyceville and Shokan as one district, combine the districts. But that's not going to happen. It's going to be two separate districts, according to them. It just makes legal sense to do it that way. The other thing that I've been talking to Kevin Young about, and to a little bit to Lamont about, and to other people involved in town, was that I was trying to advocate for them to allow tie-ins along the 28 corridor between Boyceville and Shokan. And trying to do that at this stage of the game, and in addition, there were people who live on the outside borders of the sewer district who were inquiring if they could come into it when it's being constructed. And the advice of Kevin was, do not do that now. If you do that, one, the money that the DEP is providing, the almost $9 million, is for the sewer district as previously mapped and engineered over the last few years with that large document that we have that supports that. If you say to them, we want to expand it, they're going to say, no, you're not going to use our money to do it. I was looking at possibilities of, where maybe we could spend some funding here or there, or maybe people could spend less money to tap in now. And he was like, they are not going to encourage you to increase the size of this. What he said was that it is a much better thing to have the law as written, and if people want to tap in, include in the law the possibility for later on, whether it's outside the district or on the main between the two hamlets. And that's kind of what he's looking at, and I agree with him. He said, if you try to expand the district now, you're going to have to expand the secret process for it to include all of the vacant land that you want to expand it to. And that's going to take an enormous amount of time and effort, and you're going to add cost to the project. The DEP is not going to want to pay for that that expanded secret. So he is looking at it from make it so people can do that later. I hope that, and that's what I know. That's all I know right now about that law and how it's progressing. But we are going to be getting more involved with them soon after the new year and hearing a lot more from them, I'm sure. Any questions about that?
Nope, sounds good.
Okay. I think that's it. Yes, I think that's it. Any other business? That wasn't so bad.
No, not too bad at all.
Do you have to advertise for the positions that are open on the ZBA and the planning board?
We're not required to advertise for them. We have them on the website.
No, I know. I just wondered. Okay.
All right. We haven't done that prior, right, Dawn? We've never advertised in the paper for those positions.
Since I've been here, you've never even put it up if if the existing people wanted to stay there, you never put it up even on the website.
Right.
Sylvia always just went to them, and if they still wanted the position, she just reappointed them. You guys just reappointed them.
Well, we changed that policy on the ZBA. I think it was last year. We started putting it out there if other people were interested. And in the planning board too, we did that. All right. Anything else? Very good. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.